Welcome to our team call. Brenda and I are excited to share with you some things that we've been working on, and we hope that they will kind of inspire and encourage you all as well. We find that it is just so much fun to work together instead of working independently on our own. So we have been kind of putting our heads together, coming up with some ideas, and we'd love your feedback, and we'd love for you to join us. Before we jump in, this is all about summer and the fact that we get to share this incredible nutritional product during the summer and this great tower garden. And sometimes we kind of get this mindset, and I've done it many times, is, oh, people are too busy during the summer, they're on vacation, they don't want to hear from me anyway. Or I'm too busy and I'm too distracted to share these incredible products with anyone. Brenda, what's another example of what we sometimes do during the summer months?
Yeah, well, it can be in the summer, but it can also be year round, where you feel like you're working, doing all your Juice Plus stuff, and you're busy all day long, but instead of actually making contacts, having conversations and things like that, you're organizing your files and making sure you've got the nice little Canva thing that you spent 3 hours doing so that it looks right, to make a Facebook post. What else have I done? I've decided I need to clean my email out and make sure all my little Juice Plus emails are in one spot. So
good one.
I find myself doing things like that, and at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I didn't talk to anybody. Sometimes I do. Sometimes in all that stuff I run across something, but a lot of times I'm just doing it's not busy work per se, but it's not productive work. It's not making connections, which is what we want to do. We want to share the product and share the business and share the community.
Yeah, that's where the magic happens, isn't it? When we get to have real connections, whether it be a personal conversation over coffee, or whether it be a text, or whether it be an email, or just a phone call. I think they all add up. Right. But, a couple questions for you guys to consider. And Brenda and I had to answer these questions ourselves first. But the question is, do you want to make more impact in your family and friends' health journey? Do you want to help them grow more food, get more fruits and vegetables into their body? How many of you would say that's on your, radar? That's your passion?
Yep.
Okay. A second question, a little bit different, but also similar, is, do you want to earn more income for your family by sharing these incredible products? That might mean a vacation for your family that you weren't going to get to go on because you were able to share this with more people. That might mean that you are able to help with some of the family bills and just take some pressure off your spouse or off yourself if you're single. Or finally, it could just be that you want to earn a little bit more so that you can give back. I have some real passion projects in my life having to do with victims of sex trafficking and with orphans in Kenya who are HIV positive. So income, is that important to you in one way or another to just grow it over the next 3 to 6 months? You can raise your hand if that's something that interests you. Well, if you answered yes to either of those questions, first that you wanted to have more impact in people's lives, or that you wanted to earn more income for your family, because our paycheck is a direct reflection of how many people we help, then we hope that you'll join us on this summer plan, if you will. And what we found through the years is that if we have a plan, something fun to do together, that we will all be more successful and more consistent in sharing this product. So we put our heads together and we came up with what I would call a straw man, kind of a guideline for us. And we would love your feedback and your suggestions. First and foremost, I shared a handout with the leaders. And hopefully everybody has that in front of them so that they can refer to it, or if not, I can get it to you later. It's just a Word document that kind of gives you something to take notes on, because if not, I find that I sit on these calls and I'm like, can you say that one more time? I didn't get that verbiage, you know? So I'm hoping that you have that in front of you. If not, we'll get it to you. Don't worry. So, Brenda, let's get started here. I think we were talking about maybe making a commitment of 15 or 20 minutes a day, correct?
Right. Yeah. And it can be as short as that. You can make one call a day, or send somebody one text, make one connection a day. Think of how many connections you can make in the 90 days or so, that 3 months of summer. Even if you take away the weekends, that's a lot of calls. And the consistency for me is something that keeps being hammered. Just it is hammered home, because I realize when I am consistent, when I do the things on a daily basis, I see progress. It might not be immediate. It might not be, wow, I've got a, humongous order for 10 trios today, but it's the consistency of it that really does add up. And so I think each of us could carve out time for 10 or 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, and just say, this is what I'm committed to do. And if you have the plan and you've got the commitment, then you're going to be more likely to do it. And I think what Severin was saying was to do it together. Find a buddy, find 3 buddies, but just have like a little accountability, your own little accountability person or group, to say, this is what I've committed to, and I want to do it. So when we were at the conference, I wrote a little note and showed it to Brenda and Melanie and stuff, and said, I was committing to stop my computer consulting as of the Friday after the Friday of the conference. And, with the exception of just a couple of little glitches that happened, I did that. But writing it down and letting somebody else see it was like, ooh, I said this. So now I've got to follow through.
I love it. And we can choose, we can talk about this at the end, we can choose to do this together as a whole group and set up a Voxer chat. We've done that in the past, but we want your feedback. We're not trying to push anybody into a box. We want you to feel comfortable with what you might want to do, what you feel like you would like to do, and join us if it makes sense. So number one, Brenda and I are making a commitment to create a list. I actually hand wrote my list. I've got, I think, 25, 28 names on it. And I just started this 2 days ago. So I've been sharing this product and this business for over 10 years. And it's good for me to even go back and create a new list, because, we just get kind of, distracted by lots of different new people in our lives that come and go. And I want to be intentional in sharing Juice Plus and Tower Garden with the people in my life, so that I can do the things that we talked about first. In my case, I would love to create some extra margin for us to do a really nice vacation in the next couple of years. We're going to have a 20-year anniversary, and I want to go away for 20 days. So that's my goal. And that's a little pricey, Yeah. So first thing first is a list. And I just happen to have mine, just no special order. I have Mary Hill is the first person, and she's a high school friend. I wrote that next to it. Then I have, secondly, Donna. She's at Wilkes Community College, and she's interested in Tower Garden. So just a little note for whatever works for you. Some people are going to be extra, good about maybe typing that up and putting it into an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document. There's not a right or wrong. Just get started, I guess, is the best part. So let's start with a memory jogger. And you can do that today, tomorrow, the next few days. But that's what Brenda and I are committing to, and we'd love for you to join us. And that starts with 25 names. And then every few weeks, we might add more people or do another 25 names. And then after you get your list together, I'm actually going to text Brenda a copy of my list to show that I got my 25 names together. Find somebody that you can be accountable to and just take a photo of it. I mean, Brenda doesn't care who's on my list. It's just me making the choice to share it and be accountable to her, like she was mentioning already, with something that she chose to do at conference. Brenda, would you talk about number 2 for us?
Yes, so we've got this is kind of what we were talking about, where we're going to make a commitment to contact one person a day, whether that's with a text, an email, phone call, Facebook message, whatever, whatever medium you can use and that works well and you're comfortable with. So if we make a commitment to do, to contact one person a day, Severin's 25 names would be gone in just a little over a month. And sometimes you might not get that person a day. I know there's one person that was making a list of 100 names, and she's done that. She runs through the 100 names. It's not a time thing. It's just, this is my list and I'm going to scratch them off. Either they're delayed, or they're not interested right now, or they're going to buy, or whatever it is. And just to keep that commitment, and like Severin said, I'll send her mine. You show me yours, I'll show you mine. So we can do that. And I think one of the things for me has been in making the list. I was telling Severin, we had so many wonderful posts about Corey's birth and all the crazy things that have happened. And people have just been so kind and sweet and all. But when I went back trying to reply to some of the people, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to call them 3 weeks ago. How come I haven't followed up with this person? I thought they were a good lead. And what did I do? I just dropped the ball. Somebody else is like, oh, I promised I would just, be more intentional, and they've got some kind of a personal issue, and maybe I should have followed up and cared more. So having the list, even though that might sound kind of forced, or it's kind of arbitrary, I'm writing it on a list instead of it being spontaneous, because I'm all about just, let's just do it. But let's just do it. Don't get the job done all the time. So,
life happens, right?
It does, yeah. Yeah.
So if we have a plan and we have an accountability partner, and as the next few days, as Brenda and I begin touching people on our list, we're going to share what happened, because it'll be fun to say, I can't believe that I let this person go for 3 months. I finally got in touch with them and they're ready to get started, and so we're going to share what worked, what didn't work, because we're going to have some people that say, no, not really interested. Glad you're getting healthy, but I'm not. That's okay. We're going on to next, right? The other thing that we realize that's important is to have a system to keep track of these conversations. So I've started with my list. I showed you that's just on a piece of paper, and I just have a 3-ring binder that I'm going to keep track of, or a notebook, who I called and what kind of things that I shared with them, so that I can do some follow-up. The other option that a lot of us have done before is to print a monthly calendar and just jot the person's name on the day of the week. So I'm committing to myself Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, touching one person. I'm not always going to get one person, but I'm going to do my best to have a real interaction, not just send a text and hope that that comes through. My goal is to have a real interaction. So I'm going to keep going 2 or 3 people in until I actually have some type of response. But we did this in the past, and I actually have loads of these things. We called it the consistency chain, and where I called many people 5 days a week. And so this is a great follow-up tool for me of people that never made a decision that I'm going to add to my list. So you save your monthly calendar, and then you can go back to it over time, because timing's everything. Sometimes people are just not quite ready when you reach out. They have life happening. So a system is important, and it doesn't matter what you're using, just have something that will allow you to follow up. And we thought maybe the calendar would work well for us, because we've done that in the past. And I really like the visual of a calendar. I'm a visual person, but you can choose what works for you. Some people are going to choose maybe an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so that was number 1 and number 2. And number 3, we're keeping a log. And I mentioned I'm using a calendar. So Brenda, would you talk a little bit about follow-up for us, number 4?
Yeah. So I think that I like the visual things as well, but a lot of times I'm in the computer a lot. And so I'll do things like that. But I found that if I write things down as well, the memory jogger thing works good, because then I can go back, like you've used the calendar, if you use the calendar, or even just a list, and do it sideways. I just got the list, whether they're a high school friend or a Facebook friend or whatever, and then a little blurb on the side. For me, it's easier to do it on the computer, because then I can go back and search it and quickly, instead of having this, was this October or was it November? Was it May? So for me, that works well. But different people have done different things. We have a guy in one of our coaching classes that has this spreadsheet that's amazing. So he's got the person's name and just what I was saying, how he knows that person. And then he's got kind of like categories, hot, warm, cold, or something similar, whether he can do it. So then he goes and he's just following up. He follows up with the hots first, and then and then the warms, and maybe leaves the colds and just keeps going. But he's worked it out, and he's made some really good progress with that thing. But whatever works, it's just a matter of keeping track. Because if you call them and you're like me, I can't remember, I should have followed up. Oh well, yeah. They got some questions, Severin. You want
to? Yeah, you can unmute yourself, Melanie.
No, I just saw Cindy have her put her
Oh,
hand
okay.
up, so.
Yeah.
Cindy, you can unmute yourself.
You're muted, Cindy.
I couldn't find it. It took me a second to find the mute button. I didn't know I was muted, but that was okay. I was being quiet anyway. The thought came to me because I've done something similar to this in other situations. And I personally like to work with the log. But one of the ways that I found that worked for me best is if I put it in an Excel file. And that way I could sort it. For instance, if maybe I had a day where I was actually running errands and might need to go by, say, a business where I've already talked with somebody there. If I have sorted my list for those people that I have actually met at a business out, and I'm happening to run errands that day, I would take that portion of the list to follow up with those people. But also going by date, it allows me I can sort it by date. In other words, anything I needed, I would sort by whatever the need was, whether it was to follow up by date, whether it was to follow up with a phone call or a visit or whatever. I just found Excel was a lot easier for me to use for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Super. Thank you. There's not a right or wrong. I'm not a big Excel fan, but I see that there's several on the phone, so you guys go for it. Let me finish out with number 5, and then I want to open up the floor. Number 5 is just make it simple. We want things that are easy and repeatable. And so I gave you a simple format there. We're going to share via voice, text, message, or email something that's on our heart. And we have some sample verbiage on the second page. We're not going to spend any time reviewing that right now, because I just want to walk you through the simple routine, if you will, of reaching out to someone. So we start with a voice text, a message, or an email, hopefully even a phone call or in person, even better. Then we follow up the next day. They say that 24 hours is plenty of time. So let's say that I'm reaching out to Brenda and I say, Brenda, I have really been wanting to share with you this incredible new growing system I'm using. I know you love to grow food. And she responds back, oh, tell me more. So then I send her a little something to watch. I've got some great little videos. That's always our goal, is to use an expert. If it's a health expert about Juice Plus, or if it's a Tower Garden expert, send a quick video, say, would you be open to watching a video? And she would say, yeah. And then you pop it over and say, I'll follow up with you tomorrow and see what stood out to you. That's my favorite statement. What stood out to you? What was interesting to you in that video? So check back like you said you would. Be professional. You said, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And it's good if you can give a time frame. Morning or afternoon is great. And then, whatever Brenda says about the growing system, then you kind of take it from there. And that's when you're going to get your sponsor or your upline to help you. So sometimes you're not going to really know how to respond, because Brenda says, well, I want to grow potatoes. We all know the Tower Garden can't grow potatoes. Sorry, we can't grow tomatoes. So then you got to kind of get with your sponsor or your accountability partner. Just use Voxer, our wonderful tool, and say, this is what she said. How would you respond to that? I mean, it's easy to say, no, you can't grow potatoes, but better to say, oh, I love that you love potatoes. You're going to still grow those in the ground. I'm going to show you how to grow things that are not in the soil, because this is an aeroponic system, and talk to her about it like that. So that's the value of working with someone that can help you with verbiage and language. And then we're eventually going to have a call to action. Would you and your family like to get started growing food at home, Brenda? I mean, why wouldn't I
I
ask her?
think so. I'm ready. Yeah, sign me up.
And then if she says yes, you say, well, let's just set, do you have time now? I can help us get this ordered. It'll be there within 3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
Or if it's Juice Plus, and you say, do you want to help your family get started getting more nutrition every day? And I think that's the part we leave out a lot, is they ask a question, we answer the question, and then we just sit back and wait because we're kind of nervous.
Mhm.
And so what we want to do is a call to action. Brenda, I want to help you get started. Can I send you a cart with that in the, with that particular product? Because I had someone this weekend, my dentist wanted some protein powder, because I talked to her about it when I was in the dental chair recently. And so she asked a few questions, and I said, would you like to get started? She said, oh, absolutely. So I said, I'm going to send you a cart with it in there. Because it's on a Sunday. She has 2 girls. I didn't want to interrupt her day. She ordered, her mom ordered as well, 2 different cities. And I'm excited to help her get started. So we want to make it as simple as possible, and we want to make it as repeatable as possible, or duplicatable as possible. So we've talked enough. Sorry, we actually went over. We were hoping to finish between 15 and 20 minutes. But we wanted to give you guys a few minutes to chime in. If you'll take yourself off mute, tell us what you're thinking about the summer, and whether or not this might be something you'd like to join Brenda and I, and just create some consistency and focus. Melanie?
I'm in. I had already started my list.
Wow, you go, girl.
Good job.
So, and I've been adding to it. So, yep, I'm in. I need somebody to work with, though.
Well, you can jump in with Brenda and I, or we can, you can choose an individual, whatever you think would be better for you. But I have to tell you, we had so much fun when we did this as a whole team. What was that, Lynn, last summer, or Christy, when we did the consistency chain?
Last summer, I think, yeah, because it ended like in the fall, like right at September or something, if I remember right.
Okay.
Melanie, I'll be glad to be your partner.
Okay.
Ooh, good
That'd be
job,
awesome.
girl. Yeah, I love it.
Now, hey, I do have a question. When you ask somebody if they're ready to get started and they say, yeah, do you just proceed with the order, or do you talk to them about being a partner, or like, where does the conversation go?
That's a great question, Melanie. Sorry, I've got somebody calling in while I'm on the phone. I really just have to kind of take each situation individually. And so sometimes I've had a conversation with somebody and already said, you're already bringing a few, like I should with my dentist, now that she's come, and her mom, I should say, you're already enjoying the products. And I know you've now shared it with your mom. Would you like to, share this yourself and have more impact in the people's lives around you? So I really have to play it by ear. But typically when their first order, I'm just going to help them get set up to get their order in the system. And then start having some conversations, because it's okay if they become a partner a week later or a month later, But that's my opinion. I would love your opinion, Christy or Lynn, how you guys handle that when someone says, yeah, I'm ready to get started. Do you immediately go over the business opportunity?
I personally just drop the hint that I say something like, and just in case you're ever interested, there's a great business opportunity that's just as great as the product. I'd love to help you get started on the product first, but if you're ever interested in the business side of this, I'd love to share it with you. And so I just drop a little nugget. So if at any point they're ready to revisit that, unless it is a large order, like a large family order, and then I will discuss an option about them becoming a partner right away and how that could benefit them.
I love that, Christy. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to. No, go ahead.
Seed, right, Lynn?
Yeah, and I was trying to remember kind of what Catherine Lee had talked about, that affiliate partner, the words she had used. And there's been times that people have said there's kind of 3 ways you can do that. You can just be a customer. I'll take care of you. You can do a little bit. But I have found too that often I will stop and I will talk a lot about the partnership, and then I end up not getting the order because they're like, well, I have to think about that. So I feel like more recently I've just been like, great, let me get the order. And then often like what Christy said, I'll say, oh, it's a great product. If the product makes sense to you, the business might too. I've just had people that have been like, oh, I'm already too busy. I mean, when it's really, what are we talking about? Talking to one person a day will grow your business, So I think people have a conception of it being a lot, but getting the order I think is very, very good. And then almost backing up with what to do about that.
Excellent. I think you both had some great suggestions. We kind of combine the two. Let's get the order. We know we need to do that. Let's don't distract them, because we want them to become a raving fan. That's where most of our partners come from. They've grown food and they're having super fun with it. Melanie, I had a lady today who sent me photos for Tower Garden. I'm like, you're becoming a pro and you're sharing it all over Facebook. Do you want to, join me and, sharing this incredible growing solution? And she said, no, but I'll send you lots of referrals. I said, perfect. That's a great fit.
Yeah.
Severin, you touched on something early on in your presentation, and that is just because you make a list of 25 people, maybe your goal really needs to be, if you actually talk to somebody and present the product. I have found that in other sales situations, you can't just call one person a day. I mean, that doesn't get you to the level of success that any of us want to reach. But I think homing in on that idea of making a presentation, making your goal be however many people you have to touch on a daily basis just to get that one presentation would probably be a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And the word I used was some type of personal interaction or connection. So very seldom am I going to do a presentation, and Cindy comes from a corporate background, so she's using a word that we want to, we don't want to think that you have to give a presentation every day. You just want to share. I gotta be
trained.
Yeah. So you just want to share something you're super excited about. And I think we're all excited about getting more nutrition into our families. And many of us, actually, I think everybody on here has a Tower Garden. We're excited about growing food. So that's what we're doing, is sharing something that we love and sharing something that we're passionate about. But thank you, Cindy, for mentioning that. I don't want to let myself off the hook by just saying I sent a text today. That's a 2-second process. I need to invest a little more time, like you said, if I want to grow. And in my case, create this, I think I need about $10,000 for my 20 days away for my 20th anniversary. I've got 2 years to, save that money. But anyway, it's a big vacation. So for me to have that as a goal is incredible. I'm going to start posting photos in my office, where we want to go and how we're going to be somewhere for 20 days. So yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Cindy. It's a little bit more than just a 2-second text to somebody or a 2-second email. In my case, it should be an interaction. And on those days that I can have more than one, awesome. Sometimes what I find is when you touch somebody and you have a good conversation, you got so much energy, you need to go for number 2 that day because you're on a roll, right? Okay, it's 8:30. I really, really like to be respectful of your time, but I'll take one more question or comment if anyone has one. would y'all like for us to set up a Voxer chat so that we're all doing this together? Or would you like to reach out to individuals that you might do it one-on-one with?
I'd like to try the one-on-one first.
Okay.
My first idea of go-to was to Brenda, but that was being kind of lazy because I talk to her every day anyway.
Okay.
I figured Melanie and I are two single ladies that I think that would be a good compromise for the two of us to be partners. I'm hoping you still agree, Melanie.
I do.
Yeah. Perfect. And Christy chimed in that we'll go ahead and set up a Voxer chat, and whoever's up for that would be great. And I definitely would love the energy that we had last time. I think Jennifer, you remember that. Nicole, you remember that. It's fun to hear what other people are doing and who they're talking to, because then it triggers me to go, oh, Nicole got into a science teacher and she was a 6th grade teacher. I need to think about what 6th grade teachers I know, or you just heard about my dentist, now you're thinking, how do I share this with my dentist, right? So I do think there's some nice synergies in a group environment.
Yeah.
So we'll get that set up. We'll call it Summer Plan for 2022. You'll see that in your Voxer chat. And if you're not using Voxer, get with the person who brought you to this call and they will help you get set up. Joy, I'm not sure you're set up yet, but we can do that. And it's a great communication tool. Thank you, Brenda, for being my little
Sure.
buddy tonight on the call. And if anyone wants to talk in more detail about this, feel free to reach out. I'd love to kind of share ideas. And Brenda and I are getting excited about jumping in for our summer plan. Anything else, Brenda?
Nope, y'all just make it a great week and start on your 25.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.
All right. Good night.